This conference will
Hi,
now be recorded.
hi everyone. So I'm having some major computer problems. I can see myself on the GoToMeeting platform, but you all can't see me. So at some point, I may pop up on your screen, but I thought I wanted to at least appear via phone today to get this information to you. So technical difficulties, another challenge of working from home. So welcome everybody. My name is Patricia Galindo. I'm one of the co-chairs this year for the Committee on Women in the Legal Profession. Welcome to our Monday Law Mom chats that we're having. This is our third in a series. So happy August to everybody. I can't believe we're in another month. Or as some people like to say it, today is March 135th day. I don't know which one it is, but I think technically the calendars show we're in August. So thanks everyone for joining us today on the Law Mom chat. Today the session is going to be, is working from home working for you? Which is kind of ironic since my computer won't work today. But I at least hope that you can hear me and are able to, you're able to put chat comments in, and I'm sure that Morgan or Deanza, who I think is joining us today, will share those with me. So having to balance great, thanks Deanza, I'm glad you're on. So having to balance family obligations with work obligations is even more challenging right now during the COVID pandemic. So I'm sure many of you can reminisce the days when we used to sit at work and dream about our employer letting us work from home. And this idyllic fantasy, I don't know about you, but I thought about how I'd be able to be around my children and be a better mom, and things were going to be perfect if I could just work from home. But now that many of us are coming up on nearly 5 months of working from home, that novelty has definitely worn off. I've spoken to a lot of my friends that are also attorneys, and a lot of them are telling me that they actually long and desire to be able to go back to work in the office, that they're really missing that. I think that a lot of people are missing the social and professional interactions of being in your work environment. And now you feel guilty that you feel trapped, or, you dread being at home all day. So if you don't love working from home, I'm here to tell you that that's okay. There's nothing wrong with dreaming of getting to leave your home and escaping to our office. And there's nothing at all wrong with that. Not everybody wants to work from home and doesn't do well in that environment. But if you have to work from home, as many of us are forced to do, I hope that the talk today is going to focus on a couple of things that maybe help make your experience a little bit better. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today is that you should try to create a work schedule. And I know this sounds really simple, and you're like, yes, I know I work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. But this is a little more detailed than that. And this may change every week or every day, but it's really important to sit down and to write down how many hours you can reasonably expect to work in a given week, and break that down by the day. And with school getting ready to start, this is probably going to be even more important. It may be changing for you. So you need to consider your partner's schedule, your kid's schedule, and your availability to be effective. So for example, if you know your kids do better having a nice big home cooked breakfast, they don't do well when you feed them cereal or Pop-Tarts or anything with sugar, then you know that you need to make breakfast happen. So when you schedule meetings, be honest and just say, I'm available to meet beginning at 9 a.m. Don't tell them you're available at 8 if that's what time you're serving breakfast. And if it does get set for an 8 o'clock meeting, be honest and say, hey, I have a conflict. Can we schedule it for later in the day? Don't be afraid to break up your workday. This is another, I think, really useful hint. Some helpful tips for this could be that maybe you can get up early and respond to emails. Maybe if your kids wake up at 8 or 7, maybe you do 6 to 7 a.m. and you really focus on responding to emails. For those of you with younger kids, I know that maybe they're waking up at 7 a.m. already or 6 a.m. So this may be adjusting your email time to 5 a.m. Look to see if that works for you, scheduling a little bit of time, an hour, half an hour before the kids get up. The other thing that you want to do is that you want to schedule mid-morning breaks if your kids are at home with you. So what that means is they may not do well having you be on the computer or working for hours and hours on end. So get up and go outside and play hide and seek for even 15 minutes, or work on an art project, or do something silly with them. My kids are older, so they don't really need a mid-morning break. But one of the things that I do with them is I really try to focus on having lunch with them each and every day that I'm working. So whether it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes that I carve out of my day, I try to have lunch with them. And that gives me a face-to-face time, and it also gives me a mental break for what I'm doing. And it's kind of cool to think that I'm actually getting to spend time and having lunch with my kids, something I never expected to do. You may also think about working with your partner. Is there a way to alternate days where you get to go to the office and he or she gets to stay home with the kids? Maybe your partner can at least come home a couple of hours early, and that way can take the kids outside or to the park or have them engaged, so you can have some quality couple of hours when you can really knock out some quality work, something that's uninterrupted. So here's another example of breaking down your day into different work segments. So let's say you're going to respond to emails from 6 to 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's 1 hour. And then you take some time and make breakfast, get your kids situated in the morning, and you work from 9 to 10:30. That's another hour and a half. And then at 10:30, you're going to take that mid-morning break. Do something fun with your kids for half an hour, 15 minutes, something like that. Then you're going to work again from 11 to 12:30. And you're going to take that much-needed break for lunch. So when you break down those 1.5 hour segments, that's 3 hours, and the hour you did on emails, you've put in a 4-hour half day already, and you're already at lunchtime. If your kids are younger, maybe they take naps in the afternoon, so you can really work from 1 to 3. And then maybe that's when you take off for the rest of the afternoon. Your kids have been really good, and you spend some time with them. And you fix dinner, play outside, do homework, whatever that is. And after your kids go to bed, maybe you go back to work from 8 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night. So 1 to 3 is 2 hours, and 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. is another couple of hours. So you've managed to fit in 8 actual working hours during your day by breaking it up, still being present as a mom, and doing the things that you need to do to get your work product done. Of course, that's assuming that all you need to do is work 40 hours in a week, which I know not all of us do, but you can also work in some extra hours on the weekend. But this is just an example of how to be creative and break your day down and actually schedule that. Schedule the time when you're going to be a mom and you're off of work. So another helpful hint that I have, in addition to how you schedule your workday, is to create a separate, comfortable workspace. I think it's really important to create a separate work environment if at all possible. So I'm lucky to have a large basement. I wish you all could see it. I was going to purposely show that to you, where I've been able to set up my work area. So when we first were under quarantine, I was sitting at the kitchen table, which was kind of the hub of our family, and that was disastrous. It really didn't work. So after a week or two, I told my husband, we've got to set up an actual workspace for me that's separate from being in the kitchen. So we're fortunate that we have this extra space, but it's also a craft room and kind of like a playroom for my family. So my challenge was, how do I develop a process where I can appear professional on my work calls in this kind of crazy basement environment? So many of you may have noticed that I usually, what I've done is I set up a clothing rack with some curtains behind me, and that way you can't see what's going on when I'm on a conference call. I don't like to use virtual backgrounds, and my employer, the platform we use, doesn't allow them. So I had to come up with something creative so I could appear professional in video calls. So even though I have a great workspace, the video component really wasn't working for me. And the other thing that happened, and some of you may remember me sharing this on previous calls, is my kids, I'm in the middle of the basement, would have to do that army crawl on the floor so they weren't appearing on my video screen when I was on calls. So now that I have this drape up, it allows them to freely go behind me to go to the restroom or get snacks or talk to one another. So that's really kind of worked out for my space, and it's kind of creative. I wish I could have shared my screen with you today so you could see what my actual basement looks like. But that's just something that I came up with and I wanted to share with you. So be creative. I know that there's a couple of my attorney friends that say that they've used their laundry room or even closets where they are able to set up a small desk or table, and that's their, quote, office space. So try to be creative on what you create that's a good environment for you to get your work done. So if you don't have the luxury of having extra space, what can you do to create a good work environment? Another helpful tool is to create a routine where you close up your office when you're done working. This may mean turning off your computer, maybe putting your files away in a bin, or maybe neatly stacking them on the side of your table or on a shelf somewhere the kids aren't going to get to them, right? But you really need to separate your work life from your home life is what I'm suggesting. So think about developing routines that help you transition between the two. Another trick that you can have is to have a to-do list, an actual list, a bright piece of paper, something that you can easily find where you list the work tasks that you're on before you're leaving. So remember, one example was to work from 1 to 3 in the afternoon and take the afternoon off and the evening off. So before you do that, develop a to-do list, which is not like your long-term projects. What were you working on that you need to jump back on? I'm going to finish this contract. I need to return emails to so-and-so. I need to call somebody. I need to schedule an appointment. Those things that you are actually working on before you're, quote, shutting down the office for that day, for that hour, for the next afternoon, write those things down. So it's a really good practice to put down all the things that you know you have to do on a piece of paper. And then what you do is when you're gone for that afternoon or that evening with your family, you're not worrying like, oh my gosh, I can't forget to do this. And you're more present with your family. So even doing that to-do list and putting it down on your computer or somewhere that the first thing you're gonna look at, make sure that when you jump back on and you open up the office again, you're ready to go and you really is no delay in what you left to go take care of your family. So that's another useful tip.
We've got a comment from Serena that says for her with the toddler, she found that if she separated herself physically, that the toddler would just seek her out. So she arranged their family room to accommodate a desk space for her so she could play and share space with their daughter and they could both be more focused.
Oh, that's a great tip. Thanks for sharing that. And of course, my kids are older, but I appreciate that with younger children. And if you are sharing the same space with them, one helpful tool that I remember somebody shared with me when my kids were littler is show them when you're busy, they can come up and squeeze your hand or squeeze your arm, and you turn around, you make eye contact when you kind of nod at them, and they kind of know, hey, Mom, I need to talk to you, and you nod at them, and you let them know, and you practice that. When I look at you and I nod my head, I will get to you as soon as I'm done. And so there's a lot of useful tips online that share that with you, but thanks for sharing up that mutual kind of workspace. And kids feel important too. They're like, Mommy's doing her important work, and I'm going to sit at my table or my desk doing something. That's a wonderful, wonderful tip. So other than creating a separate space, if it's not working, like if you have small kids and they're like knocking on the door, Mom, 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 right? That's not going to work. Sharing space is great. But another thing that you might want to do, and this might sound really simple, is that you want to make your space as comfortable as possible. When you're comfortable, you're more efficient. So one example is, do you need to buy a desk chair, a better chair with good lumbar support? If your back hurts, guess what? You're not going to be as effective. Is the lighting bad? I had to buy a new lamp. I wish you could see me. When I'm on video calls, my basement's a little dark, but also I couldn't read a lot of stuff down here. So buying a good lamp so I could see the document, see my computer, appear on video was a great investment for me. You may also want to buy a printer. If you have a hard time looking and editing things online, maybe investing in a printer, they're not that expensive is great. Right now, there's lots of specials on buying a whole case of paper. Another helpful hint that I had with my kids, and we still do today, is when I print out from home, if I don't use the paper, I put it in the recycle bin, and that allows my boys to make countless airplanes, paper airplanes, or just do a lot of things with that paper. So don't think about, even buying a printer might be a lifesaver for you. And this is my other tip that I absolutely love. At work, I had 2 monitors. And when I was working from home, I was working on my laptop, and that was really small and hard for me to see. So he got me a monitor. But what I was really missing is that second monitor. I like to have my emails open on one monitor and then my work product on the second one. And I have, the alerts. I know you can mute them, but I like to hear. And if I'm getting an awful lot of dings on my email, something's going on and I need to pay attention to my email. But going from one program, minimizing it to another was really disruptive for me. So we purchased a second monitor that I use at home. And that really has made me much more efficient in that I can glance at the emails and then go on with my work. So it can be the little things also that make you happy. Maybe you're saying, I don't have the money to buy a printer or a monitor. Then you know what you do? You figure out the little things that make you happy. Do you have a favorite kind of pen that maybe at work that you love to use? Buy some pens so that when you're writing, you like to use the pen. How about buying an old-fashioned agenda where you can jot things down and you'll keep track of things? Maybe that'll keep you more organized. I know we have phones, but maybe you want something that it's tangible that you can touch. Another example is, they sell a lot of like different things for your desk if you're fortunate to have one that organizes your files, that makes it look pretty. So think about the comforts or luxuries of your work office that you really enjoyed and see if you can buy some of that stuff to make you comfortable while you're working at home. The more comfortable you are, trust me, the more efficient you'll be when you're working. And finally, the third tip that I have is, I know that a couple of weeks ago, Deanza talked about creating a social bubble or a pod. How about creating a work or school pod? That's a concept. So the social bubble is where you had a small group of people that you would socialize with, that was safely trying to navigate and having contact with others. So this is the same concept, but you find a work colleague. Maybe it's not even an attorney. Maybe it's another staff member that you know at the firm. Maybe a friend, an acquaintance, a neighbor, somebody else that has school-age kids. And what you do is you alternate hosting each other's kids at home for the day. So one day you'll have your kids and maybe this other person's kids at home, and you focus on getting them online when school starts and doing the work, and your colleague or the friend gets to work uninterrupted. And then when your kids go to that home, that allows you complete uninterrupted ability to get quite a bit of work done that day. So creating a work or school pod right now could be ideal. If you don't have anyone that can watch your kids outside your home, consider having your partner work from home at least one day a week so that you can go into the office. Maybe you physically want to leave the home and go into your office and get some work done. That could be a viable solution. And if this isn't possible, then maybe you watch your kids in the morning and your partner taking care of them in the afternoon a couple of days out of the week. Blocking out times when you're uninterrupted and you're able to do something and focus on work, that can really be an effective way to do it. It's really about trying to balance and work with everyone's schedules in your family. So finally, I want to just let you know that I think you need to be honest and admit to others that you have a family that you're trying to manage. Years ago, I remember reading Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In, where she discussed the advantages of letting your employer know that you have a personal life, you have family obligations, instead of hiding behind them. So with the pandemic, I know that everyone is having to adjust to a new normal, but I think you'll be surprised if you choose to disclose to someone that you can't make the meeting or take the phone call because you have a conflict. You can choose how much you reveal to the other person. I think that there's a lot of different variations, and depending on who you're dealing with, maybe your coworkers already do that and you disclose more to them. Then maybe you have an opposing attorney that you don't really know, that you don't feel comfortable with. Practice in what you're going to say. So for example, if you have young children at home and you can't make that early 8 o'clock meeting, just say, that doesn't really work for my schedule. Can we meet in the afternoon? That's a very, I'm available from 1 to 3. That's a very neutral way of saying it. If you do feel comfortable sharing that, say, I can't meet early in the morning because I have small children. The best time for me to be able to meet with you is when they're taking a nap, and that's between 1 and 3 p.m. So those are 2 different examples of how you deal with that situation. And last but not least, if you have safe and reliable childcare, it's okay for you to go back to the office. Don't feel guilty about that. If working from home isn't working for you, don't worry about going physically in the office. And if you're able to do that, congratulations. You're really fortunate to feel like you have a safe place to take your kids. And again, if working from home isn't working for you, don't be afraid to change things up and try something different. I'm hopeful that some of these things I share with you might give you some ideas of what you can do. And I know that we're right up on the 20-minute time. So does anyone else have a tip, or would anyone else like to share things that make it easier working from home?
Pat, this is Deanza. I just wanted to share with you a couple comments, and you're right, we're right at the 20-minute mark. The first is one that came in earlier that said that they don't start things any earlier than 9:30, so that she knows that her kids will be at daycare even if they're running a little bit late, so she gives herself a buffer on the schedule piece. And another mom says that they're considering this informal learning pod concept with classmates rather than with work folks, instead of our peers, with the children's peers and their families.
That's a great idea. I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, if you have classmates that you're familiar with. Again, the important thing with creating a pod is talking about how you are social distancing. and what you're doing to keep your family safe, and make sure you have some of the same kind of criteria or you see things in the same way. But those are some really great suggestions. Is there anything else, Deanza?
Not in the chat so far. I did want to just share from my own experience that what I found is that I can't sit that long. I feel like even when I'm doing dedicated time in front of the computer, I'm needing to move about more. It seems like I'm more aware of it being at home than otherwise. So what I have found is I can sometimes just take calls with my headset on and I can still move about the house and do chores. And I can sort of multitask that way. But I found that actually sitting, and maybe it's because I need to get a new chair, like you said, with some lumbar support, but man, this at home, my chairs are not supporting me and I cannot sit for long periods of time like I used to be able to do at my desk.
No, that's a great point, Diaz. And the other thing that I had at the office that I haven't done at home is I have a stand-up desk. I think you can purchase some of those for under $200. Sometimes standing up does give you that. You know, I have another friend of mine that she works a traditional 8 to 5 schedule, and she has an hour off for lunch. Every day at lunch, she gets out and walks the neighborhood, and that gets her blood pumping. So I think that a lot of the things, like, you have to figure out what works for you, or even if you get up and stretch and do, 10 jumping jacks. I mean, I say 10 because that's probably something that I can achieve right now. I know I'm not really working out or doing anything, but do something active to just get the blood pumping and move around. I think the one suggestion or the one downfall to that, Deanza, that can happen is when you start, I'll just do a load of laundry. Oh, I'll just get the dishes done. And the kids start asking you, and all of a sudden your schedule has kind of gone out the door. If that happens, then you just need to figure out how, we all know this, how we're going to fit in the work, right, later on at night. And I think that's what it is being flexible, developing a schedule, but knowing if it doesn't work for you, try something different. See what else happens. And sometimes things that you may not even think work for you, like you're like, I'm not a to-do list person, like I said, but jotting things down and saying, okay, that helped me because when I get back to quote work, I'm more effective and I'm not afraid of I'm going to forget something. So those are all some really useful tips. And Deanza, I know that you're working from home and managing your daughter. So any other parting advice?
Just that I was reading an update that was talking about sort of the new social etiquette of these Zoom calls, and one of them said that there is an expectation now that people actually go onto video and they don't just call in, which is a little bit scary. But so that's something I think we need to be prepared for. So I would love to see Patty an example of what you did with your background, because that's pretty cool. So you got a hanger, or what did you do? You got a rack?
Right. No, I actually got it, I think, at the Container Store. It's a collapsible clothing rack. The ones, sometimes there's the ones that you can wheel around. This one collapses, which is really nice. I can store it on the wall, and I can put it together in literally 10, 15 seconds. And then I have these two drapes that I've never used. They're pretty heavy that I drape on them that are beige. And so my helpful hint to that is if you're thinking about doing that, maybe I could do a separate one or show you all what I do. I got bored with the beige background. And so I had these blue curtains that were kind of a lighter material that we weren't using. I thought blue's a much prettier color. Well, they weren't as weighted enough. In the middle of the meeting, they come crashing down. And so I tried using clips and things. Those don't work. So my suggestion is to get longer drapes. And then when you weigh it down, you fold like a third of it over, and that keeps them from moving. And so that's just a helpful hint that I have. But you're exactly right, Deanza. I think that, I was recently at a meeting, and there was an admin person that was there. And somebody was asking whether they were present. And they said, oh, I didn't get ready for work today, so I'm not going to appear by video. I think that was kind of a bad thing, because if you're getting paid to work from home, if you don't wear makeup and you're fine with that, that's fine. But you should be prepared at any given point in time in your day to appear on camera if somebody wants to see you, especially if you're getting paid to do that. So I think that's a great tool, Deanza. I know it's a little bit more complicated, but, a little bit of mascara, a little bit of concealer under your bags and your eyes, whatever you feel comfortable with. But think, if today I had to jump on, what do I look like, and be prepared for that? Because I do think that's our next stage as we're working from home, and it's very logical and reasonable to think that we might be doing this for even more months. Employers or other people might want to see you. So that's a great suggestion, Deanza. I know we're running out of time. So before we wrap up today, I want to remind you all, we have one more session under this scheduled, and that will be on Monday, August the 17th. And I'm really excited that Jensen Wallace will be hosting that. Jensen is a mom with young children, so I'm not sure what her topic will be, but she's definitely bringing a different perspective to you all. And again, if you have some suggestions on future topics, please let us know. August 17th right now is the last one of our scheduled Law Mom chats. If you all think that these are useful, let us know. We'd be happy to extend that for maybe, 2 more months. We meet every other Monday at noon to 12:30. A quick way to start your week and try to give you some helpful hints. So if you all think this is useful, let us know, and we will, the 4 of us will decide whether we're able to find other speakers. We'd love to have some of you join in and give us some ideas. We love joining you, but we'd appreciate having guest hosts too to come in. So thank you everyone for joining our Law Mom Monday chat, again, sponsored by the Committee on Women and the Legal Profession. Thanks, Danza, for helping me out today. I'm sorry you couldn't see me today, folks, but I'm glad I could jump on the call. And have a great week, and we'll talk to you all soon. See you on August 17th.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.